Good morning and welcome to Wednesday's Maths. So we started our new topic yesterday of ratio and proportion, and today we are going to carry it on. So if you didn't do yesterday's lesson, rewind it, make sure you have a look at it, because you're going to have to understand yesterday's to understand today's. This is new learning, we've never done this before. So if you haven't done yesterday's, have another look. If you have, let's get started. Okay then, so today we are going to be comparing ratios. We're going to do it by new learning is being practiced. And why are we doing it? So that we can compare two quantities. And we talked about this a lot yesterday. Two quantities, two amounts. So if you've got a certain amount of eggs, how many chocolate bars do you need, or how much flour do you need in that recipe? So rewind back to yesterday then. What do we mean by ratio? So flick through your blue maths book. What was the stem sentence that we had a look at yesterday? Well, ratio is a part-to-part comparison. You are comparing a certain number of parts to another number of parts. So, for example, the one we looked at yesterday was about onions and turnips if we were making some kind of soup. So I've got 2 parts turnip to 3 parts onion. So you're comparing these 2 parts. And we can write it like this. We can use a colon to show the comparison. That's colon in maths kind of means ratio. So it's part to a part. And the total number of parts make my whole. Okay then, so this is a rewind back to yesterday as well. So I'm using the Learning by Questions screen just to make it easier for us rather than us all having to log on. So I only wanted to do a few questions, but if you recognise it, that's where that's come from. So my first question for you is this. How many cats are there for every 1 dog? And then if you can tell me that, what is the total number of animals? Well, hopefully you can see that there's 1 dog in the middle and there are 4 cats. So I can say for every 1 dog, there are 4 cats. And I could write this as 1 colon 4, 1 to 4. What is the total number of animals? So I've got 1 part dog, 4 parts cats. So add them together, all together, I've got 5 parts. 5 parts make my whole. So the total number of animals is 5. Right then, question number 2. For every something duck, there are 3 swans. What would the missing number be? Well, for every 1 duck, there are 3 swans. So you can say 1 to 3. 1 part duck, 3 part swans. What is the total number? Well, 1 add 3 is 4. So the total number of animals is 4. There are 4 parts in this ratio. Next one. For every 2 bananas, there are how many grapes? And if you've done that one, number 4, for every bananas, there are 9 grapes. Can you fill in the missing numbers? Well, hopefully you can see that these two ratios are just the opposite of each other. So for every 2 bananas, there are 9 grapes. So for every 2 bananas, there are 9 grapes. You could also say for every 9 grapes, there are 2 bananas. Okay, it works both ways round. Well done. Okay then, here is our discover. So today we've got Emma and she is doing some t-shirt printing. So 1A, complete the ratio sentence. On Emma's first completed t-shirt, and you can see it hanging up on the wall, for every how many stars, there are how many suns. So that one should be a nice easy one to start us off. So on the t-shirt on the wall, how many stars are there for how many suns? B, Emma's going to make a new t-shirt. What could this t-shirt look like? So, and she's saying, on my next t-shirt, for every 1 star, I'm going to print 3 suns. So she's kind of given you the basic, the most simple ratio. What about if she did 2 stars? How many suns would that be? Well, if she did 3 stars, how many suns would there be then? So see if you can work out as many possible ratios as you can. If you get to 10, you can definitely stop them. Off we go. Right then, answer time. So I've zoomed in on the t-shirt so I can see it really clearly. And first things first, I just need to count up the amount of stars and then count the suns. So I have counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stars and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 suns. So this is how I have recorded that. For every 6 stars, there are 9 suns. You could have written stars and suns at the top, but I've just drawn them. Why? Because it was simpler, it was easier, and it's really clear for me to see. So remember that colon means the ratio symbol. So that tells me for every 6 stars, there are 9 suns. Could I have written that in a simpler way? Is there a simpler form? Well, I could divide them both by 3, which would then be saying that for every 2-part star, there are 3 parts. Because I've simplified these by dividing them both by 3. The ratio is still the same. There's still 2 parts of the stars for 3-part sun. I've just multiply them up, times them by 3 to get 6 to 9, or divide them by 3 to get 2 to 3. Hopefully you can see the relationship between these two ratios. So for B then, she said that for every 1 star, there are 3 suns. So I've written that basic ratio down at the top. Then I thought about, well, if there was 2 stars, I've times it by 2, so there would be 6 suns. I then thought, well, if there's 3 stars, I've times this by 3, so I'll times this by 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, what about if there were 4 stars? For every 4 stars, how many suns would there have to be? Okay, well, to get from 1 star to 4 stars, I'm going to times by 4. So then I've got 3 suns, and we need to times them by 4. So whatever we do to one side, we need to do to the other side. 3 times 4 is 12. And I can prove this because look, this 2 to 6 ratio, if I doubled it, I would get 4 to 12. Right, what about if I wanted 20? 20 stars. How many suns would I need? Well, I can either go from 1 sun and times by 20, in which case I start with 3 suns and times that by 20. So 3 times 20 is 60. And I can check this because look, this ratio of 2 to 6, times it by 10, times it by 10. So there's loads and loads of different options, as long as every time you are multiplying each side by the same thing, because all of these ratios you can divide and simplify back to 1 star for 3 suns. Okay, each one of these you can simplify back to this here. Would this be an acceptable ratio? Well, yes, because if I divide them both by 100, I would end up with 1, 2, 1 to 3. Nice and simple. Well done if you got those right. Okay then, think together. So we're still at the t-shirt printing today. So number 1, what is the ratio of squares to circles on each of these t-shirts? So remember, you can write the colon meaning 2, okay, because it's the way we compare them. Pause video and off we go. Okay then, answer time. So first things first, we need to count up the squares to circles. So the first one, there was 4 squares for every 8 circles. So your ratio of squares to circles is 4 to 8. Can you write that in a more simple form? Well, a common factor of 4 and 8 is 4. So you could write this as 1 to 2. For every 1 square, there are 2 circles. For B then, for every 6 squares, there are 15 circles. So the ratio of squares to circles is 6 to 15. Can we simplify it? Yes, we can. We can divide them both by 3. So the ratio of squares to circles in its simplest form is 2 to 5. Well done if you got those right. The one thing that you might have got wrong with these is you might have written 8 to 4 or 5 to 2. And that's because you need to make sure if it says squares to circles, the number of squares comes first and then the number for circles. If it said circles to squares, then you would write the circles number first and then the number of squares. Well done. Okay then, independent activity. We've got 3 questions today. So here are 2 of them. And the most of these are asking for the question in its simplest form. And here's number 3. And I did fib, actually. There is also a number 4. I've just cut the number off. So there's 4 questions. I do apologise. Pause the video and have a go. Okay then, answer time. So for the first one, there's 12 chicks and 3 hens. So I've written that down. I've written C and H for chicks and hens. Can I simplify it? Well, yes, I can divide them both by 3, which would then be 4 to 1. So for every 4 chicks, there is 1 hen. Or the ratios of chicks to hens is 4 to 1. Next one then. Complete the ratios for jars and tins. So I counted and there was 5 jars for every 10 tins. I simplified this by dividing it both by 5 to make it 1 to 2. So the ratio of jars to tins is 1 to 2. The ratio of tins to jars is 2 to 1. Tick these if you got them right. Okay then, so last 2, we're looking at the ratio of shaded to non-shaded. So the shaded number needs to come first. So for the first one, it was 4 shaded, 12 non-shaded. Simplify it, divide them both by 4, 1 to 3. For B, 2 shaded to 6 non-shaded. Simplify them by dividing them both by 2, would be 1 to 3 as well. And then for C, you've got 2 shaded to 8 non-shaded. Simplify them, 1 to 4. Okay then, for number 4 then. The ratio of the length of a pencil to the length of a straw is 1 to 2. So 1 part pencil to 2 parts straw. Is the pencil longer than the straw? Okay, this one you might have wanted to draw it. You might have wanted to change the objects to help you visualise what this is asking you. But this is showing you that the length of a pencil is 1. And you compare this to the length of the straw, which is 2. So 1 part pencil, 2 parts straw. So is the pencil longer than the straw? Well, no, the straw is longer than the pencil because the straw is worth 2 parts and the pencil is only worth 1 part. For B, is the straw twice as long as the pencil? Well, yes, because the straw is 2 parts and the pencil is only 1 part. So if you times 1 times 2, you would get 2. So yes, the straw is twice as long as the pencil. Really well done if you got those right. Mark them, send them in to me so I can have a look. Well done.